The klaxons blared, their shrilling wail a counterpoint to Captain Zia's hammering heart. Red lights bathed the bridge in an apocalyptic glow, illuminating faces etched with anxiety. "Report," she barked, her voice tight. "Sir, the energy fluctuations are off the charts," Lieutenant Riss stammered, his fingers flying across the console. "The breach, it's growing unstable." Zia clenched her jaw, scanning the holographic display, depicting a swirling vortex of pure energy tearing through the normally placid stellar expanse. They were on patrol at the edge of Kepler 186f's habitable zone, a tranquil sector dedicated primarily to scientific research and resource extraction. It should have been routine. Now, the celestial circuit, the intricate web of intergalactic energy pathways that crisscrossed the Milky Way, was fractured. What do we know about the source? Her gaze fell on Dr. Anya Petrova, the expedition's astrophysicist, who was frantically inputting coordinates into her console. Any sign of a weapon or something else? Anya shook her head, her dark hair falling over her worried face. No signature patterns matching typical armaments. It's too raw, too chaotic, almost. She paused, choosing her words carefully. Organic. Organic? You're suggesting some kind of... Zia stopped mid-sentence, unwilling to voice the thought. An organic force affecting the celestial circuit was beyond anything they had ever encountered. Reese cleared his throat nervously. "Ma'am, we're picking up a distress signal from Kepler Station 3. Coordinates, within 20 clicks of the breach." Zia's gaze snapped back to the display. Kepler Station 3 housed their orbital research lab, where teams were working on mapping the habitable zones around Kepler 186f. They were crucial to understanding this burgeoning planet's potential for colonization. "All hands to battle stations," she ordered, her resolve hardening. "Dr. Petrova, see if you can trace the origin of that signal. Lieutenant Riss, alert command and prepare a rescue vector." The reality of the situation sank in. The breach wasn't just a scientific anomaly. It was evolving, threatening innocent lives, and they were running out of time. "Signal origin confirmed, Captain," Petrova announced, her voice tight with urgency. "Kepler Station 3, they're still broadcasting on emergency frequencies." Zia nodded grimly. "Riss, plot a course for immediate engagement. Lieutenant Chen, prepare our boarding shuttle team. We need to get extraction underway as quickly as possible." "We're going through hazardous turbulence, ma'am," Riss reported, his brow furrowed. "The breach is throwing out energy spikes. It's like navigating a storm of raw power." "Take your chances," Zia ordered, her jaw set against the fear creeping into her gut. "Every second counts." The ship shuddered violently, alarms wailing in the background as they maneuvered through a chaotic field of turbulent energy. On deck, Chen's command echoed over the comm system as the boarding shuttle team prepared for launch, 6 figures harnessed into their armor suits, weapons ready at their sides. Zia watched them leave through the observation port, her heart pounding a heavy rhythm against her ribs. "Hope they make it," she muttered to herself, more than realizing the statement carried little weight in this dangerous situation. Back on the bridge, the holographic displays flickered erratically as Petrova strained to focus her energies on analyzing the energy patterns emanating from the breach. "Lieutenant," Zia said into her comm unit, "any progress with tracking down the source of this organic anomaly?" she asked, unable to escape the unsettling feeling that something beyond their understanding was wreaking havoc on reality itself. "Are we talking sentient force or uncontrolled chaos?" A tense silence followed before Petrova finally replied. She paused, searching for the right words. "Something I've never encountered before, Captain. There are signatures of consciousness within these energy readings, but they're fragmented, like pieces of a shattered mind." Zia swallowed hard, her mind racing to grasp her astrophysicist's cryptic warning. "Fragmented? Does that mean conscious?" Petrova confirmed the ominous implication in Zia's voice. "That's very possible, Captain." As she struggled to comprehend Petrova's words, a new alert on the bridge jolted them both back to immediate danger. Riss barked into his mic, "Captain, Kepler Station 3 is under attack, and whatever breached that station, it's not just energy signatures anymore. There are actual physical entities emerging from the station now." Zia gripped her command chair, the cold metal suddenly feeling far too real in her trembling hands. "Get us closer," she ordered, her voice resolute despite the icy grip of fear tightening around her heart. "We're going to find out what they've unleashed." "Captain, we're entering Kepler Station 3's orbital field," Riss announced, his voice taut. "Visual contact on the base. It's not good." On the main view screen, a once vibrant research station now pulsed with an eerie, otherworldly light. Jagged fissures crisscrossed its metallic hull, and from those wounds, grotesque tendrils of energy writhed like living things, lashing out at anything that dared approach. Zia felt a deep chill snake down her spine. "Lieutenant Chen, update me on boarding shuttle status." Chen's voice crackled through the comm system, tight with urgency. "Crew is ready, Captain. We've got full shield capacity and thermal disruptors online, but those energy tendrils, they seem to be disrupting our sensors." Zia chewed her lip, weighing her options. A direct assault seemed reckless, given the unpredictable nature of this unknown threat. "Chen, proceed with utmost caution. Maintain a perimeter orbit until we have a clearer assessment." "Dr. Petrova, any further insights into these energy creatures?" "Their signatures are incredibly complex," Petrova replied, her brow furrowed in concentration as she tapped away at her console. "They seem to be drawing energy directly from the breach itself. It's as if they're feeding on it." Zia's heart pounded in her chest. The thought that these entities were powered by the very anomaly they were dealing with was terrifying. "Can you amplify those signatures, Doctor? Maybe we can pinpoint their exact location within the station." A flicker of hope shone in Petrova's eyes. "I might be able to do that. It will drain a considerable amount of processing power, though." Zia made her decision instantly. "Do it." Petrova nodded, her fingers flying across the console as she initiated a complex series of commands. "There," she breathed, her voice tinged with awe. "I've isolated their positions. There are several clusters within the station, but the strongest concentration is centered in what was once the main laboratory." Just as Petrova finished speaking, a piercing alarm shrieked through the bridge. A crimson alert blinked across all of the screens. Reese swore under his breath. "Captain, we're losing lock on the station's primary reactor core. It's fluctuating wildly." Zia stared at the volatile readings, knowing that if the reactor went critical, there would be a chain reaction that could destroy everything nearby. She had 1 minute to make a decision, order a full retreat, or risk everything to save what was left of Kepler Station 3. "Chen, status report on boarding team," Zia commanded, her voice steady despite the mounting tension. "Waiting for clearance, Captain," Chen replied, his tone tight with anxiety. "Sensors are reporting several energy fluctuations within the station's core. We're losing visual contact in some areas." Petrova looked up from her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "Their energy signatures are intensifying," she warned. "The ones around the reactor core, they're feeding on it. It's like a parasitic effect." "Chen, if those readings spike, we'll have to abort extraction immediately," Zia ordered, knowing the risk was immense, but their priority was lives, not data. "Every second counts." Riss barked. "Incoming telemetry from station's AI. It's fragmented, but looks like a distress signal." He paused as if struggling for words. "The station is defending itself against something internal." "A biological weapon? Another entity?" Zia questioned, her mind racing through the possibilities. Riss shook his head. "Unknown type, but that AI, it sounds desperate." His voice tightened with emotion. "Like it's pleading for help." Zia closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. "Chen, do whatever you can to secure the laboratory," she directed, her voice resolute. "If those creatures are feeding on the reactor core, getting to them is critical." There was a beat of silence before Chen responded, his voice strained, but unwavering. "Copy that, Captain. We're breaching the perimeter now." Zia opened her eyes, focusing on the flickering screen as they watched. Chen's team moved through corridors engulfed in shadows, their movements agile and purposeful. The energy tendrils lashed out like vengeful snakes, but the boarding party seemed to weave around them with practiced precision. "Lieutenant Petrova," Zia stated, her voice sharp with urgency, "can you amplify that distress signal? I need every bit of information we can get from that AI." Petrova nodded, her fingers dancing across the console as she rerouted processing power. "Doing so now." She paused, her brow furrowing as she scanned the incoming data. "Captain, it's incoherent." She took a deep breath and continued. I think, her voice dropped to a whisper, as if afraid of what she was saying. It's trying to communicate through fragmented memories. Memories? Of what? Zia demanded. Petrova hesitated, then spoke slowly. Of the breach, and of something far worse, something ancient and incredibly hungry. She looked up at Zia, her eyes wide with alarm. Something that isn't just feeding on energy, Captain. It's feeding on everything. A gut-wrenching feeling of dread clawed its way up Zia's throat. Chen, report, she demanded, her voice strained. Sir, we've made it to the lab, Chen reported back. But there's something there. His voice faltered. I don't know how to describe it. Describe it, Zia urged, pushing back a wave of fear. Chen swallowed hard. It looks like a giant pulsing mass of darkness. It's absorbing everything around it. Metal, instruments, even the emergency shielding. I think, he trailed off, his voice a choked whisper. I think it's eating the station. Zia's heart sank to her stomach. They were trapped in the belly of a monster, and everything they knew was gone, replaced by an unspeakable terror that threatened to consume them all. Zia fought back a wave of nausea. This wasn't just another anomaly or malfunction. Chen's words painted a horrifying picture. Something insidious was devouring Kepler Station 3 from within. Chen, Zia commanded, her voice strained but firm, get your team to higher ground immediately. We need to establish an emergency evacuation beacon. Reese, get me everything you can on this entity. Petrova, prioritize amplifying that AI signal. Every piece of data we can gather might be our only hope. Riss nodded frantically, his fingers flying across the console. AI's fragments mention an incubation period, he muttered. Something about a rebirth and a cyclical hunger. Petrova's brow furrowed as she wrestled with the incoherent signal. The AI is fragmented, Captain, she said, her voice tight with tension. But there are echoes of its creator's thoughts. It knew this would happen. Her eyes widened. It was warned about it. Warned? Zia echoed, her instincts screaming that time was running out. Yes, Petrova paused, then continued in a hushed tone. The AI refers to an ancient pact, a being of pure energy, feeding off life and technology. It calls itself, Petrova choked on the words, the Devourer. Chen, status report, Zia barked, her mind racing. Sir, we're evacuating now, Chen reported back, his voice tight with urgency. But those things, they're getting worse. Their movements are erratic, unpredictable. Suddenly, the lights flickered wildly, plunging the bridge into darkness for a heartbeat. When they returned to a dim, pulsating glow, Zia saw Reese stumbling back from his console. The core is failing, he gasped. It can't hold much longer. Zia felt ice creep up her spine. Losing the reactor wasn't just about power outages, it was about catastrophic structural failure. It meant their escape route was crumbling around them. She had to make a choice, evacuate, or stand and fight this monstrous entity devouring Kepler Station 3 from its very soul. But what were they fighting with? Against an entity fueled by pure energy, the tools at their disposal felt woefully inadequate. Her gaze landed on Petrova, who was staring at a screen displaying a stream of fragmented AI memories. Petrova, Zia said urgently, any clues on how to stop this devourer? Petrova's eyes glittered with newfound determination. There has to be something, she muttered, her fingers flying across the console, searching for answers in the swirling chaos of the AI's memories. I need more data. There was a mention of a conduit, a point of origin. Just as she spoke, the ship lurched violently. Alarms blared throughout the bridge, bathing them in a cacophony of warning chimes. The devourer was getting stronger. Time was running out. Chen, status report. Zia barked, her voice piercing through the growing din of alarms. Sir, we're losing altitude fast. Chen shouted back, his face contorted with strain as he wrestled with control panels. Shields are at critical levels, primary engines offline. Zia felt a cold knot tightening in her stomach. Desperation clawed at the edges of her composure. They weren't just fighting an alien beast, they were battling against the very fabric of their failing station. Reese, any updates on that AI? Reese hunched over his console, fingers flying across its surface as he desperately searched for answers within the fractured digital remnants. His reply was a breathless, fragments. It's mentioning something called a containment field, a way to seal it. He glanced up at Zia, his eyes mirroring her own urgency. But the data is fragmented, incomplete. We need more. Petrova, Any breakthroughs? Zia pressed, turning to the science officer who was battling with the AI's corrupted code. Petrova gritted her teeth, focusing intently on the complex algorithms flickering across her screen. Almost. There's a pattern. A sequence, she muttered. It relates to the initial breach, but also something far older. She paused, her face illuminated by the screen's flickering light. This entity wasn't supposed to be awakened. A wave of icy certainty washed over Zia. This wasn't just a random anomaly, it was a carefully orchestrated disaster. Someone had opened this Pandora's box, unleashing a force beyond their control. But who? And why? Zia wrestled with these questions, her mind spinning as the station lurched again, shaking them to their core. Time was running out. They needed answers, and they needed them fast. Petrova, is there anything you can glean from the AI's fragmented memories about this containment field? How do we activate it? Zia demanded, her voice strained with urgency. The hum of failing systems and the ever-present tremor of their sinking ship added a layer of tension to every word. It's chaotic, Petrova said, her brow furrowed in concentration as she frantically scrolled through lines of corrupted code. But there's a pattern, a sequence tied to the original breach protocol, but amplified, twisted. She paused, her eyes widening. It seems this containment field isn't meant for conventional energy manipulation. What kind of energy are we talking about here, then? Reese interjected, his gaze fixed on Petrova's screen. The AI speaks of resonance, Petrova said slowly, her voice tense with the weight of the information. A harmonizing of frequencies, like tuning an instrument. She glanced at Zia, a flicker of fear in her eyes. But this is amplified to a level beyond our understanding, an untamed power. Zia felt a cold chill crawl down her spine. Untamed power? What kind of force could control something like that? She gripped the armrest of her command chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. Suddenly, Chen's voice crackled over the comm system, a frantic edge underlying his words. Sir, the primary hull breach is worsening. We're losing oxygen in Sector 4. Zia's jaw set with grim determination. They had to act, and fast. Riss, she said urgently, what about that data? Can you isolate any frequencies corresponding to this resonance? Riss swallowed hard, his fingers flying over the console as he wrestled with the overloaded AI fragments. It's fragmented, Captain, but there are resonance spikes. They align with the containment protocol and a specific astronomical event. He glanced up at Zia, his eyes wide with fear and revelation. A lunar eclipse. It's happening in 2 hours. Meaning? Zia pressed, her pulse racing as she grappled with the implications. Reese choked out, his voice trembling. If we can align our systems somehow, use the eclipse's energy, we might be able to amplify this resonance. Zia's mind raced. It was a long shot, an utterly desperate gamble, but it was their only chance. If they failed, well, the thought sent a shiver down her spine. She wouldn't let them fail. Petrova, she said, her voice firm despite the rising panic within. Can you interface with the core? Try to realign it with this resonance sequence Reese found? Petrova nodded, her face grim but resolute. I'll do what I can. She glanced at Zia, a shared determination in their eyes. We have to trust the AI's fragmented memories, however chaotic they might be. Zia looked out at the increasingly distorted view beyond the bridge windows. Trust is all we have left. The remaining crew scrambled into action, each playing their part in this desperate attempt to survive. Zia watched them with a surge of admiration and fear. They were playing a game against an incomprehensible force, a cosmic entity fueled by raw power they barely understood. Could they win? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. The fate of Kepler Station 3 rested on their shoulders. The eclipse aligns in 2 hours, Riss declared, his voice tight with urgency. He tapped furiously at the console. Each keystroke a desperate prayer echoed through the strained silence of the bridge. That's our window. The AI's fragment mentions amplified resonance during that celestial event. Zia gripped the armrest of her command chair, knuckles stark white against the worn leather. Her gaze shifted between Petrova and Reese, their faces reflecting a mix of fear and unwavering determination. Petrova, can you interface with the core? Find a way to align it with that resonance sequence? A tremor shook the station, sending ripples through the control panels. Petrova sucked in a deep breath, eyes fixed on the holographic display flickering before her. It's chaotic, she admitted, her voice strained. The energy flows erratically, unpredictable. But I'm picking up residual traces of the containment protocols, fragments of code interwoven with astronomical data. Every second counts, Zia urged, a knot tightening in her stomach. She glanced out the shattered viewport, seeing the vast expanse of space distorted by the failing hull. The encroaching blackness seemed to press against them, hungry and indifferent. We need to amplify this resonance before that containment field collapses completely. There's a risk, Reese warned, his brow furrowed in concern. The AI mentions potential feedback loops. Uncontrolled amplification could create a catastrophic energy surge. Zia met his gaze, her own filled with a grim determination. She knew the risks, the unimaginable consequences of failure. But inaction was not an option. They were trapped on a sinking ship, facing an enemy that defied understanding. Then we control the feedback, she stated, voice firm despite the trepidation gnawing at her. Petrova, focus on stabilizing those energy channels. Reese, maximize the system output, amplify that resonance sequence, get us as close to that containment threshold as possible. Chen's voice crackled over the comm system, a desperate plea cutting through the tension. We need more time. Section 6 is losing pressure. Can I divert auxiliary power to life support? Zia felt a surge of anger mixed with helplessness. Their resources were stretched thin, their ship on its last legs. Do it, she commanded, her voice hard as steel. Hold the line as long as you can. Hours ticked by like agonizing stones, each beat punctuated by the groans and tremors of the failing station. The eclipse approached, casting an eerie twilight over the chaos within. Petrova's brow was creased with fatigue, her fingers flying across the console keys as she wrestled with the unpredictable energy currents. Rhys monitored the output readings, his face pale but resolute. As the final moments before totality arrived, Zia felt a surge of desperate hope mingled with an icy dread. What if they were failing? What if their gamble was futile against such unimaginable power? 3 minutes to eclipse, Chen announced, his voice strained. Oxygen levels are critical in Sector 6. The tension in the room was palpable, a silent prayer hanging heavy in the air. Zia gripped the armrests of her command chair, staring into the encroaching darkness beyond the shattered viewport. They were on the precipice, hurtling toward an unknown fate. One last gamble remained. Petrova's brow knit tighter as she wrestled with the console, her face illuminated by the erratic glow of holographic projections. Contact, she breathed, voice tight with effort. I'm sensing a shift, a possible resonance pathway. Rhys leaned forward, his eyes glued to the telemetry readout. Can you stabilize it? He asked, hope and worry battling in his voice. Petrova's fingers danced across the controls, calibrating with feverish precision. Slowly, she said, her voice strained. It's delicate, like aligning gears on a celestial clockwork. Zia stared out at the distorted starscape beyond the viewport. The looming eclipse was casting Kepler Station 3 in an eerie twilight. Soon, totality. Soon, their last chance. Chen's voice crackled again, more frantic this time. Captain, we're losing life support integrity in Section 6. Can you divert auxiliary power? Zia felt a cold fist clench around her heart. No, she replied firmly, her gaze snapping back to Petrova and Rhys. Everything goes into the resonance protocol. We can't afford to lose this. Petrova grunted, pressing harder against the controls as a tremor, stronger than before, shook the station. System overload warning. Rhys slammed his fist on the console. Amplify output. Take it to the limit. We need that resonance. His command echoed through the bridge, a desperate plea fueled by dwindling time and increasing pressure. Zia braced herself, her knuckles white as she held onto the armrest. This wasn't just about containing the cosmic entity. It was about their survival, about holding on to any sliver of hope against overwhelming darkness. I'm aligning the containment protocols, maximizing the resonance. Petrova gasped, sweat beading on her forehead. It's resonating. A surge of energy pulsed through Kepler-Station 3, briefly illuminating the bridge with an ethereal glow. The trembling stopped, replaced by an unsettling silence. Outside, bathed in the dying light of the eclipsed sun, a new energy crackled, a visible distortion rippling across the hull. Would it hold, or would their desperate gambit crumble before them? The eclipse is total, Rhys declared, his voice barely a whisper. Are you online? Petrova's eyes widened, filled with both exhaustion and an unexpected flicker of triumph. Yes, it's stable. The resonance has contained the energy flux. A collective sigh, tinged with disbelief and exhausted relief, echoed through the bridge. They had lived. At least for now. Hold strong, Zia ordered, her voice regaining its usual firmness after the wave of tension subsided. The fight isn't over yet. She could sense the vast energy swirling just beyond their fragile defenses, waiting for an opportunity to break free. This was only a temporary victory, a small window of time amidst an ongoing cosmic struggle. The true battle, the test of their ingenuity and resilience, had only just begun. The silence after Petrova's confirmation hung heavy, a tense truce with the cosmic entity trapped just beyond their metallic barriers. Zia broke the stillness, her voice carrying a mixture of relief and grim determination. "Report," she commanded, her gaze sweeping across Riss and Chen. Riss, his face still pale, but now etched with a determined set of his jaw, consulted the telemetry readings. "Energy levels are stabilized for now, Captain. Containment protocols seem to be holding, but it's a delicate balance. Any system failure..." He trailed off, leaving the unspoken threat hanging in the air. Chen coughed, breaking the tension slightly. "Life support is back online at full capacity in Sector 6, ma'am. Medical Bay is reporting minimal casualties from the energy surge." Zia nodded, a sliver of gratitude warming her chest. Their gamble had worked, for now, but victory was a distant glimmer, always threatened by the vast, unknowable power they'd managed to contain. "Reese," she said, turning back to him, "prepare for long-term monitoring protocols. We need constant vigilance." "Already on it, Captain," Riss replied, his fingers flying across a console. Holographic displays shimmered into life, showcasing intricate schematics of the containment field's energy flows. Zia moved towards Petrova, who still sat hunched over her control panel, a trail of sweat glistening on her brow from their exertion. "Petrova," Zia began, then paused. "That was incredible work. Holding the resonance, you managed something unprecedented." Petrova leaned back, her eyes closed as she swallowed hard. It felt like guiding lightning with my bare hands. It could go at any moment." His gaze locked onto hers with a haunted look. "We need to know more about this entity. We couldn't have done it without knowing its rhythms." Zia nodded grimly, her mind already turning towards the mountain of work ahead. They'd contained a cosmic threat, but the true battle lay in understanding it, in learning how they could coexist with such unimaginable power. "Chen," Zia addressed him, "contact Starfleet Command, inform them of our success, and urgently request specialist teams, astrophysicists, xenobiologists, anyone who can shed light on what we've encountered." Chen saluted briskly. "Command protocol initiated, Captain." He paused, a hesitant note in his voice. "Ma'am, about the entity itself." "What is it?" Zia asked, already bracing herself for unsettling news. A flicker of fear touched Chen's eyes. "It seems it's not alone." A chill snaked down Zia's spine despite the warmth of Kepler Station 3's artificial sun. "Not alone?" she echoed, her voice betraying a hint of unease. "Elaborate, Chen." Chen hesitated, then cleared his throat. "It picked up faint transmissions, irregular pulses, repeating patterns. They seem to be coming from outside our detected stellar map, Captain, a region we've always assumed barren." Zia's brow furrowed, her mind racing. "Barren?" she questioned, disbelief tinging her tone. "That vast expanse beyond the nebulae is supposed to be a dead zone." Chen nodded grimly. "The readings suggest otherwise. These transmissions, they're too complex to be naturally generated. It's like," he searched for words, "like they're trying to communicate." "Contacting another of its kind?" Zia asked, her hands clenching around the armrests of her command chair. The sheer scale of their predicament was escalating beyond anything she had imagined. This wasn't just containing a rogue energy entity. It felt more akin to safeguarding humanity from an unknown cosmic invasion. Reese leaned forward, his eyes glued to the holographic displays flickering above them. "Captain, we can't ignore this. If these signals are linked to the containment field, that means there could be others out there." He gestured towards the chaotic energy spikes still dancing on the display. "Others like this entity, possibly even more powerful." Zia met Riss's gaze, her face a mask of grim determination. This was not a theoretical conundrum anymore. It was a dire reality they had to confront. Chen, she ordered, redirect all available resources towards analyzing these transmissions. Identify the source, decipher their language, anything we can glean. Already on it, ma'am. Chen replied swiftly, his fingers dancing across the control panel as he initiated new protocols. Petrova shifted uncomfortably, a tremor running through her body. Her fear was palpable, yet beneath it lay a profound scientific curiosity. If they are another of its kind, could there be others? Zia met Petrova's gaze with an unwavering intensity. This was the precipice they had stumbled upon, a universe far vaster and stranger than they could have ever comprehended. Petrova, what we need now is answers, not assumptions, Zia said softly, placing a reassuring hand on Petrova's arm. Focus your energy on learning everything possible about this entity, its behavior, its companions. The question hanging in the tense silence was deafening. How do you prepare for the unknown when the unknown holds unimaginable power? They had survived this initial attack with grit and ingenuity, but the fight to protect Kepler Station 3, to protect humanity itself, had just begun. Chen's voice crackled with urgency. Captain, I'm picking up faint readings on the outer perimeter sensors. Multiple energy signatures, fluctuating wildly. Zia's pulse quickened. Is it connected to the entity? Analysis inconclusive, ma'am, Chen responded. The frequency and amplitude are unlike anything we've encountered before. Reese leaned in, his brow furrowed with concern. Whatever those signals are, they're synchronized with the containment field fluctuations. Petrova swallowed hard, her usual vibrancy dulled by a palpable dread. This isn't natural, is it? These transmissions, they feel controlled. Zia drew a shaky breath, steeling herself for the daunting reality that was unfolding. Prepare battle stations, all hands, she ordered, her voice betraying none of the fear clawing at her insides. Maintain defensive protocols and keep me apprised of any developments. Reese snapped back to attention, moving with a practiced grace that belied the tension in his stance. He barked orders across the bridge, the rhythmic flow of commands restoring a semblance of order amidst the chaos. Chen's fingers flew over the console, relaying information as fast as he could process it. Captain, I've managed to isolate the signals. They originate from beyond our detected stellar map. Beyond the known boundaries? Zia asked, her voice hushed with disbelief. Yes, ma'am, Chen confirmed. The readings are coming from a sector previously considered unmapped and devoid of life. A chill crawled across Zia's spine. The vastness of their predicament suddenly felt crushing. What does this mean? She whispered, turning to Petrova, searching for some semblance of understanding in her colleague's face. Petrova's eyes were wide with unease, reflecting the terrifying enormity of their discover. I don't know, she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. But whatever it is, it's out there, and now it knows we exist. Suddenly, the bridge lights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness for a heart-stopping moment. A wave of static crackled through the comm system, followed by a distorted guttural voice, a chorus of chilling whispers that sent shivers down Zia's spine. They're here, it rasped in their ears, a cacophony of alien voices speaking in unison. And they know we are.